Well, a very good evening and welcome to Welsh Football Fans Live. We are live, gentlemen, live across Facebook, across YouTube, across Twitter, and we are here with important questions. Important questions like, what happened to the January transfer window? Does anybody care? Should people have moved? Should people have not moved? Should people who did move, but they shouldn't have moved? And should people who hadn't moved, should they have moved? And the fact that they haven't moved, that hasn't moved us. I'm going to stop because I've just ruined the intro, completely ruined the intro. I'm just going to introduce the guests instead. So I am joined ably and despairingly, and it turns out fresh from the shower, glistening after an evening's five-a-side, by none other than the man who has become known as Lawrence Moore, because his name is Lawrence Moore. Lawrence Moore, everybody.
Hey there. Happy New Year, everyone. Is it too late to do that? I don't know. But yeah.
It's February. It's February.
Yeah, but we haven't been back for a Facebook Live yet. So it is Happy New Year.
No, it's February. We're not doing that. No, okay, that's not a thing. All right, so you can knock that off right away. We're also joined this evening by a man who is a self-proclaimed nutter. I've just called him a Tosh nutter, but he's a big fan of Tosh. That's what he is. And he's also, thankfully and quite heroically, the director of the forthcoming movie Tosh. His name is Pete Jones. Pete Jones, everybody. Welcome, Pete.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
So, yes, we'll be talking Tosh this evening. We're looking ahead to the documentary film of the great rise up the ranks that Swansea City did back in the 70s and 80s. And thankfully, Pete Jones knows a lot more about this than me, because I was only 5, and I suspect that he was a bit older. And also, as you might have noticed from that's just like one room at his house. His entire house looks like that. It's just full of memorabilia. It's amazing. Absolutely, it's like absolute Aladdin's cave.
This room has certainly got no more wall space left, so
nope.
I might have to branch into the spare room. If the missus says I'm okay.
You've been ironing it up, have you? Just
it's
there. Look at that there.
Just moving a frame or two in, just surreptitiously, you know.
Yeah. Like. Late at night, so it doesn't have to, nobody notices or anything. Anyway, your comments, as ever, are always welcome. And I should, before we go any further, say that Welsh Football Fans is brought to you in partnership with Pure Vans and Valley Carpets this evening, and I'll be saying that again later on in the program. But for now, because we're very grateful for their ongoing support and their sponsorship of Welsh Football Fans. But for now, then, we shall dive into the news that is the news of the January transfer window news. And Lawrence Moore, would you like to bring us up to date with who actually went where? What were the big ticket items?
Well, Alex, listen, the big ones were all fairly straightforward until Aaron Ramsey pulled an absolute swift one on us and decided to go to Rangers at very last minute. I think that just took everyone by surprise. What the heck was going on there? Kiefer Moore to Bournemouth obviously was a move that had been hinted at for quite a while. I'd sort of on the grapevine heard that for a few weeks before it even happened. So not much of a surprise in that one. Maybe a bit of a surprise at the fee that was finally given, especially after Cardiff were holding out for double figures back in August. Nico Williams with a last minute. I'd gone to bed, by the way, the Nico Williams one. Missed it completely. I'd given up at like 11 o'clock when it was supposed to have finished. Went to bed, 12:30 was announced. So go Nico. Fantastic. I think that is moving to Fulham. And then Matt Smith, who is obviously one of the younger members of the first team squad, but a first team squad player nevertheless, leaving Manchester City and heading off to, rebuild his career, I guess, at MK Dons.
Yeah, so your thoughts then in the comments. Let us know about what you feel about those. I mean, we can't. I suppose we really must start with Ramsey to Rangers. As you said, it caught everybody off guard. It was like we knew that Burnley were in for it. We knew that Newcastle United. Well, Newcastle United. I mean, Newcastle United were linked with me at one point. Over the transfer window.
You turned them down, Noel, didn't you?
I did turn them down. Yes, I just felt that they weren't the right club for me at the right time. That I need to keep my options open, and besides which, I'm on a Bosman in a couple of months anyway, so I can go what I like.
Are you sure it wasn't you going in for a Newcastle or Brown as opposed to Newcastle United coming in for you?
I have never ever seen the point in a Newcastle Brown ale.
No,
why?
Ever? It's just horrendous.
It's quite tasty.
It's like somebody just went down to the Big Time and just like put a glass in and went, do you know what? I'll drink that.
I went to uni in Newcastle, and I got a real taste for it up there. I'll be honest, I've never really drunk it since.
I've never actually had it, which is incredible because it's out there. I mean, what is it? It's like a very flat bitter, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It's got a little taste of it, but a really flat bitter. Yeah, I suppose. To be honest, like you may have guessed that it's a few years since I was last at uni. So I tried desperately through the sands of time to remember what it actually tasted like. But yeah, no, it was all right. It was okay. It was okay. I remember drinking it, and having a few stonking hangovers on it, and it was all right. It was all right. Liquid coal.
Liquid coal. Yes, thank you, John Morgan. As ever, thank you for your counsel and for your wisdom. What else have we got here? Robin Edwards. So this is the one I was hinting at. The movie.
We're going to come to this, won't we? Yeah.
We'll come to this. So Pity Road to Brighton didn't materialise. We will come on to that, Robin Edwards. A very good point. But we must dwell on Ramsey to Rangers because it's like I can't decide whether or not it's a good idea. It's a brilliant move in that he gets to play the equivalent of Championship football for a couple of months at a big club where he is pretty much guaranteed the SPL title. I know that Celtic are making a fight of it at the moment because he didn't play in the Old Firm Derby last night, but I like to think that he can turn the tide and that Rangers will sort themselves out. But I just feel that's fine. And then obviously there is the other elephant in the room.
Where?
Rangers.
Yeah. What, the football club? Not one of my favourite football clubs, I'll be honest with you. But
not a lot of people don't like Rangers in Wales. It turns out, lots of people.
Oh, lots of people.
You'd be surprised in Swansea. There's a great many Rangers fans.
You can say that. You can say that.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You go in certain pubs in Swansea on a Saturday, and you'll see many Rangers scarves.
Good Lord.
You know, there's quite a healthy contingent. There's also a healthy contingent of Celtic fans in Swansea as well. But there's a big. The Old Firm is a big thing in Swansea. There's the battle lines are drawn. I mean, they're all pals when they watch the Swans.
Yeah.
You know, when the Old Firm it all gets a little bit messy.
Interesting.
My big problem is like obviously we could face Scotland in the playoff final. Do you know what I mean? Like we could be playing Scotland in the playoff final. And is there a Scottish player just ready to nail Ramsey just before the international window? Some kind of nasty tackle that goes in. I mean, if I was Aaron, maybe just kind of the week or so before, I'd have a little twinge in my hip flexor. He has a lot of those, so maybe a little hip flexor twinge. Just miss that last week or so before the playoffs.
I think that's an extremely cynical thought that you've got going on there, Lawrence Moore. I don't, I mean, as any football fan or any football player would know, whether in Scotland or anywhere else, all they need to do is just wait a bit, and Rambo will pick something up. So it's not like they have to go looking for it.
Maybe, but listen, he is so important to us. So, all joking aside, it's great that he's going to be playing. Really good.
Says, not sure about Rambo to Rangers when Premier League clubs end for him like Palace, who are playing good football. At least he is going to be playing, I suppose. Which basically that's the one thing that I'm holding on to is, I mean, if he can't get into that team, then frankly, it's time to stop. Surely. Richard Griffiths II says, please, can we talk about Toshiba, please? I'm a bit busy tonight. Thanks. We'll get there, Richard.
This is an old pal of mine. This is Griff from the call centre. I don't know if you ever saw BBC Two's The Call Centre.
I do, yes.
He's a bit of a prankster, and he features in the film and the Tosh film. He'll be in the DVD extras at least. Hi, Griff. How you doing? But he is busy tonight. He's always busy on a Thursday.
I love that. Griff, you feature, I mean, you might be at the DVD extras. Probably be in there. That's
a great place to be.
Yeah,
you're in it. You're in it. In the history.
It's shaping up at the moment, it's going to be a parallel film to the main one with many different voices, and it's going to be just as well. just as if not more entertaining, to be quite honest. So we're really looking forward to getting stuck into the extras because there's such a wealth of material we've got, you know.
The DVD extras will be more entertaining than the actual film.
Well, to Swans fans, maybe. I think it's hey, listen, I had to defer to Pete for this, but it looks like it's going to be a real kind of one for the Swansea fans, I think, isn't it? The DVD extras.
The extras are certainly going to be, you wouldn't want to miss them. Put it that way, as a Swansea fan, because there's going to be a lot in there that isn't in the main body of the film. And
right, but the main body of the film is for football fans generally, and people that respect and enjoy football history.
And we wouldn't unleash Griff on the ordinary football fan. We're keeping him just to Swansea fans.
I see. Yes.
Is the world ready for Griff? We're not sure.
That's why he's in the DVD extras. Yes. Well. I mean, I feel like we've skipped ahead. I mean, we haven't even talked about Nico to Fulham and Roden not going to Brighton and anything like that. But I do really want to dwell on these points just for a little bit longer because they're important things. Like Nico going to Fulham. Number one, I'm amazed Liverpool let him go.
But I think they had to. Because he's in the squad every single week. He's in that match day squad, which is fantastic experience for him. He has played a reasonable amount. He's been used by Klopp. Klopp obviously really rates him. But I think he's just got to the point where he needs game time. He's going to start going backwards if he doesn't get that game time soon. So having Nico fit, firing, matches, minutes in his legs ahead of the playoffs, wonderful. So happy. I mean, when he gets injured and misses it, I'll be devastated. But I mean, at the moment, absolutely, on paper, it's the perfect move for him as well. Fulham play a great style of football. They get the ball down, very attacking, score an absolute hatful of goals in the Championship. He'll be playing with Harry Wilson. I just think it's the perfect move. I think
it is absolutely the perfect move. And how fabulous is it that we got Nico and Harry Wilson, and then we got Chris Bepp and Kiefer Moore. Both, they're both in promotion chasing sides. I'd love to include Di Brooks in there, but obviously, he's got his own issues to deal with at the moment, so we wish him the very best with that. But that there are 4 players, 5 if you include Di, all pushing for promotion into the Premier League, which is fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Again, and in really good form as well. Chris isn't playing quite so much down at Bournemouth at the moment, and I do believe they signed a centre half during the transfer window as well. So fingers crossed he does get a few games. But listen, Ethan's playing fantastically well out in Italy. He's getting minutes in his legs and really sort of coming on and developing, as we saw with your wonderful little video the other week.
I just love watching that boy. Love watching that boy. Even in Italy, I just love watching him because it's like he never gets out of second gear. But yes, just has all the time in the world. So yeah, I'm loving the fact that Venezia are loving him as well. So that's lovely.
Yeah, he seems like he's really found his feet and just getting that development right. It'll be really interesting to see how he does at the end of the season when he goes back to Chelsea. Yeah, but perfect for us for the Austrians to face them.
Yeah. And then Matt Smith to MK Dons. So he's finally left Manchester City after going on loan to various places over the years. I'm happy for the boy because I just think, there's Matt Smith's biggest problem was that he made his debut just after Ethan Ampadu, and everybody was just still wiping their chops over Ethan Ampadu. And then Matt Smith came on and did an absolutely sound job. Did exactly what he needed to do on his debut and keeps delivering that, keeps doing that, but he isn't Ethan Ampadu, and it's just like that's unlucky. But I wish him the best at MK Dons. I think it's going to be good for him.
Yeah, no, I do. I think he's such a talented young player. He's just not had much luck with his loans. This is where the loan system kind of falls down. It's not an exact science, is it really? So he goes out to FC Twente. Fantastic season there, really building his reputation, getting good minutes. He's come down to the Championship and he's just he's not physically built for the Championship. So it's quite hard for him to actually kind of make inroads. He went to QPR, didn't quite work out. He went somewhere else as well. And then he went to Hull City. And that went really badly this season, sort of fell out with the manager. Things going on behind the scenes weren't great. Grant McCann giving the Wales set up a bit of a hammering for taking Matt with them and just not playing him, and him coming back not fit. So there was a lot of angst going on there. So to be out of that, just go somewhere, restart his career in League One. I think that'd be really big for him. Choppers reminded me who it was they signed Bournemouth. Nat Phillips from Liverpool.
It was indeed, yes. Thank you, Chopper Charlish.
Yeah.
The king of quick Googling on the Welsh Football Fans live.
No. He's not. He's the man. He knows his shizzle. Is
he? Right.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Griffith's been back on. He says, did Alex used to do a phone-in? Real radio, perhaps? If so, our paths have crossed many times. I did used to do a phone-in, Richard. Yes, I did. Many moons ago. But yeah, we may well have crossed. Chopper's also gone. Anthony's looking great. Been watching him loads on TV, also playing in loads of positions and showing how versatile he is. That's absolutely right. It turns out that Ethan Ampadu can play everywhere except Chelsea.
Until the end of the season, and then he's gonna rock it. Absolutely rock it.
And then I suppose the big sort of transfer non-move of January was Joe Rodon is still at Spurs, and we can't understand why.
No.
Take him back to Swansea any day of the week.
Lots of people have said that.
What's going on, Pete? He was so good at Swansea, so good, and Spurs really went out for him, didn't they? That was not just on a whim. They've been chasing him for a while, but
we didn't put a foot wrong with us. I mean, I haven't really followed him since he's left us, but I think I remember at the time thinking maybe it's a year too soon. He could have done with another year with the Swans, but as with a lot of our players who've gone on. They've gone on slightly prematurely, and sometimes it's worked, sometimes it's not. Ben Davis worked, Joe Allen worked. Others, could have done with another year's development. And it's a great shame that he went from us because that whole sort of crop of youngsters we had comes through at that time are now all gone, as far as I know. And it looks like the production line's dried up slightly for the time being, which is disappointing, and of course it's not going too well for us on the pitch at the minute.
Yes,
we're doing a late James up there.
Yes. Lawrence got caught in the crossfire of a Twitter spat between Cardiff and Swansea fans this week, which was hilarious, Mr. Moore.
So what a Cardiff fan had put on there. What was it? He said, we're having our worst season in decades and Swansea are only a place above us. And then the Swansea fan had retorted going, yeah, well, we're having our worst season in decades and Cardiff are a place below us. So they were really having a shit off.
Well done.
Yeah, it was a good clapback. It was good, but this is what we're talking about at the moment. It's like, who is the least crap side in South Wales? That's where we're at.
Tune in May to find out who is shitter.
Right, it's setting up the second derby quite sort of, I say nicely. It's the first one. Obviously, we were on fire that day, but we haven't recovered that form. I don't see. Well, you've won the last two games, Cardiff, so they're in the box seat for that game, but. A lot can happen between now and then, but it's pretty uninspiring from us.
Have you been watching much of them, Pete?
Yeah. I mean, I've not been down there for a little while, but it's a season of transition and consolidation. I know it's a dirty word, but unfortunately, in the game today, managers don't get a chance to stand still. What I'd like to see is what's happening with Russell Martin. I believe he's the right guy for the next year or so. But whether he'll get the chance to stay on or whether he'll get disillusioned, we just don't know. But I like it. I like what I've seen him so far. It's gone a bit belly up the last few games. But will he get the time? That's the question.
I think he will. No, I don't think he will. No, I don't think he will because I don't think there is any time in football anymore.
Well, this is it.
Anybody spends the time giving people time anymore. It's not a thing. It's like. I don't know.
I think he will. And the reason I think so is because they
not for anybody else.
Yeah, but look, Swansea, when they were looking for a manager in the summer, they didn't go straight to Russell Martin. They went around the houses to a few other people who they were trying to entice there, and they wouldn't go there because they saw the state of the budget they would have to work with. So if they get rid of Martin now, then that's another search for team with no budget. Look, Cardiff are doing the same. They're absolutely stripping their big payers out. They're going to be totally transformed in the summer in terms of getting rid of some of their big payers. So Swansea have lost parachute payments. It's a tough time for both clubs. But the good thing, as far as I'm concerned, for that is that some of the younger players will get an opportunity. We've seen it happen at Cardiff with the likes of Mark Harris and Colwill and Isaac Davis getting game time. Fantastic. At Swansea, Ben Cabango obviously continues to play, but just waiting for that next generation, the likes of Dan Williams to come through and a couple of others, and they're on the cusp. Liam Cullen's gone out on loan in January. Hopefully get some game time in League One. He'll come back. So hopefully there are a few Welsh kids that are going to benefit from this. But yeah, we'll kind of. I think they'll give him time because they need to. They need to rebuild.
The worry is he'll become disillusioned and take off. This is the life of a Swans fan. The same with Cardiff. It's uncertain. We've had 15 years of pretty good times. 7 years in the Premier League. I mean, I'm of the opinion now that we've seen it all twice over. I want the club to prosper, obviously, but I'm not as sort of hanging on every development as I used to be, because I'm a little bit jaded by it, to be honest. And since the American owners came in, that sense of belonging you had when Jenkins was there and when we were really riding high under Laudrup, that's long gone. I've become really disillusioned and disenfranchised with that, as of a lot of Swans fans. Yeah. And so yeah,
God, you're a cheery one, Pete. I have to say, yeah,
it's tough time being a Swan or a Cardiff fan at the moment, isn't it? That's for sure.
I keep an eye on Newport and Wrexham.
It's in League One next year. Yeah, thanks for that, Gareth. Blimey, yeah. John Tilley says totally agree. Roden should have got another year. Yeah, it's a good point. And Jammer Tucker simply says Upper Wales.
Absolutely, Jammer. We'll get back on talking about Wales, but and there's another youngster, Brandon Cooper, isn't there, from Swansea, that went out on loan as well to Swindon, so he'll go and get some league experience, which is great. I think he's got a decent future at Swansea ahead of him. And then there was a youngster as well, Joe Adams from the 21s, who went out to Dundalk and has been doing really well out there. So that's another player to just keep a little eye on. But I think there's one from Richard Griffiths in the comments about Martin trying to play chess with a bag of draft pieces, and I sort of know what he means there. Sometimes you look like those players, and some of the things he's asking them to do, they are struggling with big time.
The situation with Patterson has rumbled on now, and it's been destabilising. And it's well, we won't go too deeply into that because there's a lot going on there. But that's really disheartened me, just the attitude of some players, and him throwing his toys out the pram seems to completely upset the apple cart. And I don't know. I'm falling out of love with modern football, I've got to be honest, which is one of the I'm so immersed in the Tosh era working on the film. The two have sounded kind of juxtaposed to the detriment of modern football, because I'm seeing it for all its frailties.
Do you know what, though, Pete? I know there's a character in the film, Dolly, who we get talked about, and we'll talk about her in a second, because she was like the tea lady, wasn't she? Right. And lived next door to the ground, to the vetch. And she said some great comments in there about her. And there's a lady that works called Lynn, who works in the Swans media department. She does the food and what have you for all the media. And she's like the modern equivalent of Dolly, I think. Like the way I see her and the way she talks now, I'm going, oh my God, it's the reincarnation of Dolly. Amazing.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're talking about then is a new forthcoming feature film all about Tosh and his time in charge at Swansea City. Then it is called, weirdly, Tosh. And if you have not been keeping an eye on our Welsh football fans, or even our Eats League media, or even the media over the last few weeks or so, then let's give you a little taste of what we're talking about.
The club was going nowhere. In the mid-70s, they were going nowhere.
Well, at the time, you didn't think anything of anything. You just didn't think the Swans were going to go anywhere.
Swansea's always been slightly depressed because we're at the end of the line. We always seem to get left out with everything.
Well, you know, they got beat 7-0 off Workington Town. I mean, you know, 5-0 off Chester City.
Police phoning my dad, or they've thrown stones through your office window again. It
needed somebody special to come in, wave a magic wand, whatever you want, and turn the club around.
We're going in the car now to the Dragon Hotel to pick up John Toshack to bring him back to the house to discuss, but you mustn't say anything.
1 minute he was going to Cardiff City, and then the next minute he was coming to Swansea.
I went to Swansea on the rebound, really.
And then he literally walks in through the door, you know, and he's introduced as the new manager. And when he spoke, he talked about actually getting into the First Division within 4 years. Me and Kurt looked at each other as if say, we're in the Fourth Division now. Yeah, First Division.
To go into the Fourth Division just seemed bonkers.
And he brought this kind of gravitas with him.
I remember the night that my debut against Watford, I think the Swans had been averaging about 5,500 and 19,000, 18,000 I think it turned up.
What's happening with the Swans? They're winning again!
Friday night at the Vetch, the atmosphere was brilliant. 25,000 people there.
In those days, there was only one sub in those days. Possibly the best place for me was substitute.
There was a bit of a roar. I looked round. Tosh was getting his tracksuit off.
No warm-up or anything like that, just top off. On you come, on I went.
Wait till I get on the edge of the box.
I seemed to be up there for about 20 minutes when I watch it on the television.
There's this sort of messianic photograph almost of him now, where he's just suspended in the air, arms down to his side.
That image is so iconic. It's a little bit like some of the rock star images you see on a cover of a record magazine.
One of the great occasions in the Bayview.
The boys they were serving us, so we were drinking, you know.
It was early hours of the morning, the wee small hours, as they say.
There was a bang on the door.
And David Giles was on the mic. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the police."
Nobody moved, everyone stayed there.
You know, I think all the police were Swans.
We'll get their autographs then.
I got the blame for that.
What upset me that day was that I think two of them weren't there.
Gareth Edwards has signed for Swansea City. Tosh, what have you done? What have you said? Oh, I haven't said anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
The build-up to Preston was just crazy.
Knew that this was a must-win game.
Cars with black and white scarves hanging out the windows.
And Shankly was shaking your hand and he said, "Are you ready, son? Are you ready?"
I said, "Follow them!"
Play now, don't break my hand.
I mean, I've been very, very fortunate, I'll tell you. Big clubs, Liverpool's, Real Madrid's. That day at Preston, take some beating. I'm feeling myself shivering now.
The size of the type, it was actually bigger than when the Post announced the end of the Second World War.
Da iawn Abertawe, da iawn Abertawe.
The whole world was looking at us now.
Where the economy and socially, it was a very, very difficult moment. Well, I think the city in general has absolutely sort of exploded. It was almost like a beacon of light that people could align to with something with regards to hope and success.
So we're beating Man United, and we're beating Tottenham, and we're beating Liverpool.
Liverpool weren't meant to be beat by Swansea.
You know, whoever they put in front of us, we beat them. It is almost unbelievable, really, that we were top of the league.
And the kind of worshipping of Toshack that was going on there.
Go walk through town and see a footballer, give you butterflies, you know. Still does a little bit, if I'm honest.
I think that was the thing. They were huge celebrities, and yet they were just about within reach in a way that footballers just aren't these days.
It was a very exciting time for a young boy.
A star player at Cardiff, go off to Liverpool and then go back and do what he did with Swansea. It's some achievement.
Well, I mean, it was my baptism, if you like, as I say, in football management. I mean, when I look now, you look at the countries that I've worked in and been successful. You know, I've won trophies in Spain, Portugal, Turkey, Morocco. This is where it all started. Swansea City. Swansea, oh city, said I.
Grief, that felt like it was so long that Lawrence Moore has managed to have dinner.
But it could have gone on a bit longer for me. Some bits I haven't seen for a while there, and it's fantastic. It's looking in good shape, and
it is indeed. Yeah, and you've literally spoken to everybody, like everybody.
Well, that's when you work on something for 5 years. You get, there's not many people you can miss out, and well, we've been blessed, and the last year, especially when we really went to work on it, and then getting Tosh in the bag as the final piece of the jigsaw was just wonderful. He's out in Barcelona. COVID made it very tricky for us to get out there, but we went out and spent a couple of days, and it's just going to be wonderful, and it's going to be a gift to the Swansea fans that I grew up with, and who I'm still friends with now 40, 50 years later, and I can't wait to present it to them.
Yes. So 5 years in the making for you then. I mean, I know that we've been, obviously, with our production company, Eat Sleep Media, and with Focus Shift Films, we've been working with you for the past year and a bit longer than that. I mean, when did this start? When did you think, you know what, this actually needs to be said?
Well,
on film.
Yeah, well, it started. It started in 1978. Really, it's been percolating in my head since I was 5 years old when Tosh arrived at the club. Because prior to Tosh coming to Swansea, I was in school in an area of Swansea called the Uplands, which is very close to the Vetch. I wasn't even aware there was a football team. I wasn't really a fan of football. But when Tosh arrived, the whole school was swept along in this, because this superstar had arrived. So the whole school was swept along in this wave of sort of Tosh mania. Support sort of quadrupled overnight. I got caught up in it. Nobody in my family was into football. They don't know where it came from. But my brother went and got me my first kit, 78, 79 season. And I was just obsessed with Tosh right through, from those years. And then when I sort of left London about 5 years ago, I was looking for a project to work on. And I kind of always thought there was a gap with this film. It's never been made. And more sort of football nostalgia films are coming to the fore. And I thought, well, hold on, we got the best story ever here in Swansea. And if I say so myself, there's nobody better to tell it than me, because I feel there were people who were much more involved than I was, because I was very young. I was 5 to 10 was the age I was. I didn't go to as many games as many people. But with a bit of a background in television and the media, I could apply all these things together and pull this together. And it's just been an absolute labour of love. It's taken longer than we'd hoped, but all good things come to those who wait. And here we are now in 2022, the 40th anniversary of when we finished 6th in the First Division, highest ever finish. So it's a timely anniversary to hang the film on, and it's going to be a very exciting year.
Yeah, it really is. Really is. It's just fantastic, Pete. The buzz in and around it, the storylines that kind of run through it can go so many different ways. And in the words of Richard Griffiths the 7th, who's the twat in the shades?
That's the
you got that comment, Al?
I think Richard's had enough. He's had enough exposure tonight, really. I mean, it's like just honestly.
Well, he's been nagging me to see that trailer that he's in since I teased him with it about 4 months ago. So there, that one's for you, Griff. I wasn't expecting to show that trailer tonight. So yeah, very true.
Yeah, Pete, what's it like, kind of going back through the memories for it? Because obviously, you lived it as well as it. You lived and breathed it as a kid. So what's it like, kind of going back and watching the footage and trawling through the archives?
It's just been wonderful. Incidentally, there was a comment there from Tracy Struwell-Clark. She's just one of the daughters of Malcolm Struwell, who was the chairman who brought Tosh to the Vetch. So I thought I knew everything there was about this subject, but on this journey, hate to use the word journey, sound like a sort of a pop idol kind of guy, but on this production, doing this, I got to know people and become friendly with members of Malcolm's family, with Tosh himself, with players. You know, I've got Alan Curtis on speed dial. I never thought I'd say that. So it's been wonderful. I thought I had a great grounding in the story, but the cast is ever expanding, and I've got to know so many wonderful people, from Carol Fowler, who was the secretary down there, who sort of knows where all the bodies are buried from that era. You know,
under a housing estate now, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, on the allotment. To Danny Bartley, who's a real character. You know, it's been incredible to get to know these people, and it really is the ultimate labour of love, because there's nothing that drives me as much as that era. I suppose a lot of it, I'm kind of telling my own story in a selfish way. I was very lucky to have a really happy childhood, and those years have been between 5 and 10 was when I was at my happiest, before sort of the end of innocence, and they coincided with Tosh, and I think that's why I feel so warmly about Tosh, because he represents that wonderful time, that age of wonder, you know. So in telling this story, I was worried slightly that it was going to disillusion me slightly and I don't know, make me sort of question those years by being so fully immersed in it. But it hasn't. You know, I've come out the other side. I'm still as passionate for that era, and it's just solidified those wonderful memories. And you know, the end product, it's shaping up beautifully, as you both know.
Yep, yeah, we are. We have the privilege of watching that take shape each week. Our crack videographer, editor Luke Daly is working his magic on it and beavering away. I mean, the guy only drinks like vapor and eats air, you know, and somehow he manages to sustain himself and continue to.
He was a lot of fun on the trip to Barcelona. I mean, he was partying 24/7.
No, he wasn't. That's an absolute lie. We know Luke far too long. But I mean, that does bring us then neatly to the actual, because this was the bit that we were looking for, wasn't it? This was the, it was on, it was off, it was on, it was off. COVID and everything just sort of conspiring against you, and then finally there was the phone call that was like, right, we're going to Barcelona then. And finally you got out there. I just want to play this little clip here. Then this is actually just from when we were setting up in Barcelona. This was just as the crew was just faffing around with lights and cameras and everything. But this is Tosh just being pure Tosh.
As you think that team here, Barber, Evans, Lally, Bruton, Bartley, Robbie James, Charlo.
Speedy?
No, Speedy come in lately, yeah. I'm going to for every time I've done this.
You can buy a house around here, I'd imagine.
It's a while since I have, but that Chesterfield game's still the same, so you don't go away.
And you just see that he's still excited about it. He thinks back to these things.
What a
and
photo.
Still, it is an amazing photo. It really is.
Really
but there is still that excitement. You must have felt that in the room, Pete.
Well, the funny thing was that clip you showed there, we hadn't sort of done, take one on the interview. We hadn't started. And he just started rattling off the names of the team he inherited from Harry Griffiths. And I sort of, watching it back, I likened it to like a proud general talking about the names of his regiment, and fought some great battle together. It had that sort of, and I didn't realise he still held those guys. When you think what he's gone on to do in 40 years, and the sort of Galacticos he's worked with, the fact he still remembers Pat Lally and Dave Bruton, and he holds Wyndham Evans and Danny Bartley in the highest regard, and they feature really heavily in the film, as well as Kurt, Charlo, and Robbie. It's just been a joy. I've had my ups and downs with Tosh. He's anyone who knows him will know he calls it. He calls it as he sees it. He can be quite abrasive, but we came through in the end. We had a few up and downers, but as you'll see, the warmth that comes across in the interview, it wasn't faked. This is the right time in his life to tell this story now. He feels incredibly passionate and privileged, really, that Malcolm took him there. And that comes across. And it's often levelled at Tosh that he's arrogant. And I wouldn't argue with anyone who's got that preconception. But having got to know him, I don't believe it's arrogance. It's supreme self-confidence. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's a smidgen of arrogance in there. And of course, any football manager's got to have that. But I think that's a real misnomer when people say that. He is supremely self-confident. I think he's naturally that way. Then Shankly totally imbued that in him. And he doesn't try and hide it. And I love that honesty about him. And his charisma and all these factors come together in this film to make him such a brilliant subject for it.
Yeah, you're right, because the belligerent, like the belligerent belief that he's doing the right thing, that's where it comes from, isn't it? We're going to do it this way because this is the right way to do it. But one of the really interesting things for me, Pete, when you're sort of watching back in some of the clips, was like the warmth and the credit that he then give to Harry for the team that he'd built. And he literally just went like that. Nah, that promotion, that wasn't my team. That was Harry's team. That was his. And so that passing of of that moment, I thought was just it said a lot about the man that's behind the front, if you like.
Absolutely, he's very gracious about Harry, and it was a very unusual situation when he took over at Swansea. He was 28. Harry was the incumbent manager. Malcolm agonised over whether to demote Harry, if you like, to assistant. But Harry was so keen to see the club take on a new track-suited manager, as he called it, and Tosh became available. Harry was happy to step down. It's a situation you simply wouldn't find in football today. And you certainly wouldn't find it. I can't think of any other examples. But they hit it off tremendously well, Tosh and Harry. And of course, he died 6 weeks later, which features heavily in the film. And I've watched now the latest draft back, and I choke up. I didn't know Harry Griffiths. I remember him dying. I would have been 5-6 years old. The whole city was in mourning because he was loved in Swansea. But I choke up every time I watch it, and it's Swansea fans and Harry's family, because he's kind of like the forgotten guy. Not everybody knows who he is, but he's never been lauded in print or in film before. So that's something I wanted to put right here. And Tosh has certainly been a fantastic person. He's blown that trumpet. It's been wonderful. And how Harry's family are going to be chuffed to see the tribute we've made to him.
It's funny you should talk about Harry like this, because we have got a little clip. There's a lot that Tosh talks about Harry, but there's just a little another little snip there.
Harry, as I said earlier, God bless him. When they play down here, down the Vetch, you can send them out and go and have a cup of tea up in the director's box there. But once they get on that M4, you're going to have your work cut out away from home. They get homesick. And no, it seems that just the more I think about it now, I just can't believe that it was so long ago. It just seems like yesterday. Curtis, James, and Charles, John, but the rest, no. So hang on a minute, no, don't let Windermere you say that. Fourth, third, second, first. As I say, easy to say it, but a bit more difficult to do it.
I'm glad you showed that clip, because there's a funny story there.
Are you gonna mention the window?
Yeah, so we sat with Tosh for 2 hours. Of course, I went over to Barcelona thinking it was going to be sunny, so I didn't dress appropriately. It was cold and miserable over there in November. But on the day of the interview with Tosh, we sat in this room with him for 2 hours, and we thought the window was shut, tight. We'd gone around the room making it all secure. And Tosh had talked about Shanks all the way through, and he features heavily in the film, Tosh's memories of Shanks. And then right at the end of the interview, the very last line, a freak wind opened that window, and the three of us looked at each other, and it was. I said afterwards, that was Shankly. That was Shankly's breath. We've been talking about for the last 2 hours, and he's having the last word. It was kind of eerie in a way, but that's going to feature in the film somehow, because it was quite freaky. It freaked Tosh out, and not much does.
Amazing. I'm really looking forward to it, Pete. I think it's one of the treats. So is the film is it because I guess it could be a Swansea story, and we've talked about the people from Swansea, but you think this is a wider football story as well that the sort of football fan will enjoy?
I definitely do, because my great friend Johnny Owen made a film about. You'll be aware of him from the Wales setup.
We know Johnny.
I've heard of the man. Yes, he's the second most talented person in his couple.
That's right. Well, he's an old pal of mine going back 30 years, and his Forest film about Brian Clough, I Believe in Miracles, is a big inspiration and kind of a bit of a template for what we're doing with Tosh. And I loved that Forest film, and I've watched others about Howard Kendall. So I think there's a real yearning for that nostalgia, for that era, and this film is going to sit alongside those. And if I can enjoy a film about Everton and about Nottingham Forest, I'm sure they can enjoy a film about Swansea City, because they're universal themes. It's a rags to riches story. It's a very unlikely. It's a romantic story. It's got a bit of everything in it. And I mean, I think any football fan will want to watch it.
Good, because it's we wanted to succeed as our name's on it, but not being biased or anything, but would be nice.
Very honest of you, Al. Very honest.
Yeah.
We should share with the viewer that this is an inside job, because we are all working together on this film. We haven't just been thrown together accidentally.
I kind of think people that know
they might have guessed
this by now. I think they figured it out. Yeah. So
I'm not here on merit. This is an inside job.
That's basically it. Yes, you're here because Dan Harris wasn't available this evening.
He can't talk as well on Harry Griffiths as I can.
No, but he can talk. Bloody hell, that boy can talk.
He can, yeah. But getting back to what you said, Lawrence, about going through the archive, that's been an absolute treat, because I was brought up on grainy VHS images of Malcolm and Harry and Tosh. I'd never actually heard Harry Griffiths speak, because so little stuff exists from that time. And of course, now we've got the BBC and ITV archives to go through. It's all crystal clear and brilliant sound. And to hear Harry speak, he's got a proper Swansea accent. He stops short of saying mush, but he's not far away from it. And there's a wonderful clip. I mean, it gets so poignant, and we're going to have this in the film. Not long before he dies, he says, "If I can get up and come down the vetch field in the morning, I'm a happy man." And he lived and he died for the football club, and that's going to come across in the film. And to hear him speak, and the warmth and humility and the character of the man, he'd be in the bookies after training. Everybody in town knew him. It was a different time, It was the fans and players and managers were all one, really. And it's making me very nostalgic just talking about it now.
Well, it's funny that you should mention the nostalgia and going into the archive and everything, because I know you've been just spent 5 years just gathering as many archive clips as you possibly can, and you've picked out a couple more for us. Now this is what we're looking at then here is a clip from a what is this actually?
Yeah,
is this a clip from a documentary from the 80s, or
it's called Match of the 80s, and it's about it's a compilation of Match of the Day stuff that was put together by Danny Baker, and I think it went out at the end of the 90s, so it was like one of these sort of retrospective things you get all about the 80s. And this episode focuses on 81-82, and of course it talks about the Swans in two sections. And I think the first bit we're going to show is the hysteria in the city ahead of the first game against Leeds. So run VT.
As opening day approached, the hottest ticket in town, well, in Wales, was to see John Toshack Swansea City make their first division debut after rising like a rocket from the 4th to the 1st in just 5 seasons.
I don't like champagne. I don't smoke cigars. I haven't any real jewellery at all, apart from the 8 pieces of gold I picked up at Anfield.
A capacity crowd of 23,000 will see these Swansea City players set out to prove against Leeds United tomorrow that they're in the First Division to stay.
It was one of Toshack's big-name signings, Bob Latchford from Everton, who settled the nerves and got Swansea's season off to a real flyer.
Chance for a goal. Oh, what a goal! What a goal for Bob Latchford!
Yeah. So some of that footage we're going to be using in the film, and the story, the Tosh story, just keeps giving. He doesn't just take us from the 4th division to the 1st. We actually hammer Leeds United on the first day of the season 5-1. Nobody could have scripted it. I mean, Tosh says as much in the interview we did in Barcelona a few months ago. A gloriously sunny day, 25,000 in the Vetch. It was just magical. I mean, the fun never ended, really. Well, it did end a couple of years later. When it was good, it was unprecedented, it was unparalleled, and you get a sense of that in that clip. And of course, people like Bob Latchford rocking up at the Vetch. Who would have guessed that? The guy is still regarded in the pubs of Swansea as the greatest goal scorer we've ever had. He was different class. He really was different class.
He's some player, wasn't he, Bob Latchford? Just the video clips I've seen of him are amazing. And then he ended up at Merthyr as well, didn't he? I think
he did. And I actually went to the Welsh Cup final at Ninian Park in '87 when they played Merthyr, Newport, just to see Bob Latchford. I know I wasn't stalking him or anything, but I was just such a big Swans fan from his era that I even followed him at Merthyr.
I don't think any of us was accusing you of stalking him right until you brought it up. To be honest.
You know what? It's funny. If I was his stalker, I wouldn't be a very good one because he's one of the very few people we couldn't get in the film, which is slightly disappointing. But he lives in Germany, and he's got
the budget just wasn't there.
It wasn't so much.
COVID we weren't allowed in with COVID.
Well, yeah, and apparently he's got serious. We did get in touch with him, but he's got real big COVID fears, and he just wasn't prepared to see anybody from the UK. And of course, the injunction against me still stood.
So I mean, we talked about Tosh and the supreme self-confidence, and he came across as arrogant, but it was his belief in what he was able to do. But it was difficult. It's difficult to kind of imagine a man like that having his own heroes, but he did have his own heroes, didn't he? He'd had people that even you get to that stage where you think like you're top of the heap, but even Tosh had someone that he looked up to.
Oh, absolutely, and that man was John Charles. If we were talking in a playing context, obviously in managerial capacity, it was Shanks, but John Charles was his all-time idol growing up as a player. He modelled himself on John Charles. They became teammates at Cardiff only very briefly because of the age gap was so big. But I love the way in the film when he scores the famous goal against Chesterfield. Yeah, you can hear John Charles' words ringing in his ear, "Head it back where it comes from, son." So even though Tosh was a Cardiff boy, that goal and a lot about him was made in Swansea via John Charles. So the weird sort of things that go on in this film, the connections, they just keep coming. And it's a source of great pride that Tosh modelled himself on Swansea's finest son, really, in John Charles.
Hmm.
We're beginning to come to the end. It's the beginning of the end because one of us really needs a pee. Guess who? But we can actually keep it to yourselves, right? But we can exclusively reveal that Tosh is going to be available for pre-order on Amazon in a couple of weeks. What are you kidding?
Well, that was news to me today. So that is. I didn't believe it until I heard it from your lips.
Well, I heard it from Dan Harris, and Dan Harris is never wrong. So I mean, that man should know. So yeah, so available for pre-order on Amazon in the next few weeks, but there's going to be the movie, and there's going to be. We want it to be on telly. We want it to be everywhere that we can get it. But yeah, that was like the first. I don't know. I saw that today when Dad told me today. It was kind of like the first sort of. Holy shit! It's actually going to be out there.
Yeah, we better not fuck this up.
Yes,
you can grab, you can hold on to. Yeah,
definitely.
Never has the Eat Sleep Media motto of "build it as they will come as long as it's not shit" ever been more important than this moment.
100%. And what do you sort of think about how you might feel, Pete? The sort of when it's out there, when the story's out there, say, and it's in Swansea and going on to a cinema. what will the feelings be?
He's going to get absolutely hammered, and he's going to sleep for a week.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm looking forward to putting it to bed in a sense, because it's been a lot. It's consumed me for a long time. I'm looking forward more than anything to my dad seeing it. I'm looking forward to Tosh seeing it. And I'm looking forward to all my friends in Swansea who I've been friends with for 40 years through the football seeing it. And, you know, we're like a brotherhood. We all went through the Tosh era together, and then many, many barren years afterwards. And they've all been very supportive of the various sites that I've run and keeping the flame burning. So I just can't wait to get it in cinemas in Swansea and see the reaction of my friends and all the people who've helped us. And if we can get the likes of Gilo, Kurt, Leighton, and everyone together for some sort of gala opening, seeing the look on their faces is going to be wonderful.
What, Gilo, Kurt, and Leighton are to piss up?
Do you know what? It'll always stay with me. I was lucky enough to be working at the playoff final when Swansea went up, and so I was sat about 10 meters away from where Leighton was, and you know what kind of bloke Leighton is. You know, he is like hard as nails and what have you, but doesn't show much emotion. There were some tears that day, and that'll live with me for a long time. Just seeing kind of what that promotion meant to him and what the club means to him. So yeah, I can imagine. And when I see him talking in this, I love it because you can just see that passion.
Yeah,
and just how much he loved that era.
We had to go back to see Leighton twice because we interviewed him when he's in his garden on a glorious sunny day, and we got a fantastic interview with him. And then somehow it got lost, and we had to ring him up and say, "Can we come round again, please?" And to be honest, he was fantastic. Only the weather was shite that day, so we had to do it
in his armchair. He phoned up and said, "Can we do it a third time yet?" Because I reckon he would.
Do you know what? Leighton comes in for a bit of stick for whatever, but he has got an incredible memory for detail, and he's one of the best speakers in the film. And yeah, you know, so it's fabulous. And to go back twice for me was a treat, as you can imagine.
I bet.
I had the I don't want to one up Lawrence, but I had the pleasure of presenting a phone in with Leighton James, Alan Curtis, and David Giles for 3 years. So
wow,
you know,
I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
I just picked the names up off the floor, Al. Do you mind?
Yeah.
Let's get go.
They're three great guys who we couldn't make this film without, and I got to know Gilo a little bit through this. And of course, I live in Mid Wales now. And a few months after we'd interviewed him in the office, I was walking my dogs, and there was Gilo, and he didn't remember me out of context. And I said, "I interviewed you for the Tosh film." "Oh, great." Then 20 minutes later, my phone goes, "I'm in town. Pete, do you fancy a pint?" And we ended up having 7 pints in the afternoon, which was fantastic.
That
sounds exactly like Gilo. Yes, it
and
does.
all the stories we couldn't get for the film on camera, I got in the pub that afternoon. But he's a great guy, and it's been great to get to know him. That's just an example of how great this film has been for me, getting to know these guys.
Well, Pete, it's been absolutely fabulous talking to you this evening, even though obviously you were basically just dragged into it because we wanted to plug the film, which is called Tosh, by the way, and it's a film about John Toshack and the Swansea City era, which will be coming out in the spring and is available for pre-order on Amazon over the next few weeks. We'll keep you posted on that. Absolute pleasure. Lawrence Moore, we have time for some late breaking news.
Oh, do we?
So, despite your hopes and dreams earlier, Gareth Bale is not in the starting lineup for Real Madrid this evening, but he is on the bench. Yeah, but it does allow us to bring in this photograph, obviously, which was doing the rounds this week. It was rather unfairly portrayed by Spanish media as look at look, he's so thin. Look how when wizardy and old his old legs are and everything like that. And then clap back from Gareth Bale today on his Instagram when he said, right, and that's what happened in the next step. Literally, the next step. That's his leg muscles, which is lovely to see. Gareth doing what Gareth does really well.
Well, that looked like a ghostly face image on his knee. That's what that looked like to me.
Yeah, do you know what? It could very well be.
That's gonna give me nightmares. That is.
As long as that knee takes us to the World Cup, That ghost can be there forever, not a problem. That yeah, no, it was a really odd one, wasn't it? I think it's just the angle. I mean, that's where the camera never lies, but you know,
it totally does.
It totally does. If he's on the bench, let's just hope he gets a bit of game time, because we can really do with him getting a bit of game time. I just thought a Copa del Rey game, I thought that was the perfect one to get him back playing a little bit, you know? So, yeah.
Well, I heard that he turned down Newcastle, and then Rangers got Aaron Ramsey ahead of him. So, you know, it just didn't work out for him.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that.
Yeah. Anyway, right. You have been watching Welsh Football Fans on your Thursday evening in partnership with Pure Vans and Valley Carpets. And as ever, we thank them for their continued support and sponsorship of Welsh Football Fans. You can follow us on Facebook, and we're also on Instagram, and we're on the Twitter sphere as well. Just search at Welsh Football _ on Twitter and Insta. And funnily enough, we are Welsh Football Fans on Facebook. But a joy talking to you all this evening. Thank you very much for your comments. Pete Jones, absolute joy talking to you. I shall see you probably next week when you come down to tell Luke what he should be putting in the film next, I would have thought.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Lawrence Mora, you can go and you can go towel down. You look a bit glowy. You're right. You look a bit.
Yeah. Just need another. It's Thursday. I might have a beer, to be honest with you. I've done some running around. I had my tea. As you noticed while we were talking earlier, and yeah, now Pete's had enough. Fair enough. And yeah. So I'm half a Thursday night beer now.
You go for Thursday night beer. You might do the same.
Do you know what? It's 7 weeks today. Is the Austria game?
Is it 7 weeks today?
Oh
my word! I'm starting to get excited. Yeah. But that's for another Facebook Live. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone, this evening. Take care. Goodbye, and be kind to each other. Bye.